Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reshape TV. Our next guest is Dr. Henry Cloud. He is an acclaimed leadership expert, psychologist, and New York Times best-selling author. His books have sold over 10 million copies. He is a contributor at CNN and Fox News. He has consulted Fortune 500 companies and, as an entrepreneur, grew a successful chain of 40 treatment centers around the globe. I am so excited for him to impart some of his knowledge and practical advice upon us today. So please welcome Dr. Henry Cloud. Thank you so much for being
No,
here.
it's good to be here. It's going to be fun.
My fellow Southerner.
You're going to reshape me, right?
I'm hoping you reshape me. No, you reshape me. And first, I'm really so happy that you're here, and even more excited to know that you're from Mississippi.
Yeah.
I'm from Louisiana. Speak the same language.
Yeah, and they're going to bring in some crawfish and hush
It's in
puppies
season.
and,
Crawfish is in season, so that would totally be appropriate. And I just want to say congratulations on the success of your books. I started to dig deeper into. Actually, I have a few pages dog tagged here, dog-eared, because so many things were speaking to me. So thank you for this. So if I'd love to just dive right into it. Okay, so the name of the company is Reshape, and the whole idea is around a belief system that you could really reshape any area of your life, some places where you're not satisfied or you're not totally fulfilled. But I find, speaking for myself, sometimes when you want to do that, changes have to be made or adjustments, things that you aren't always accustomed to. And sometimes there's roadblocks along the way. I wanted to know if you could give us any kind of advice to kind of push past whatever is stopping us to get to that place of reshaping an area of our life.
There's so many places we could hop in.
I know.
But you know, you've hit on something really, really important, that reshaping is something that's going to happen. I mean, we are not shaped and then we don't reshape.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We're either going backwards and slowly kind of dying, if you will. Dreams are dying, hopes are dying, or we're reshaping in the other direction because we're alive. And so if you're alive, if you woke up this morning, that means there's a part of you that wants something and you want to take the next step and you want tomorrow to look a certain way. And if we're not doing that, it's not good. So reshaping, I love, you know, what you've called it, because what you're saying is you've got to proactively decide that you want to reshape in the right direction, and we can. The biggest misnomer out there is that people can't change. I don't know who said that and why they said that, but it's just not true.
I do believe for sure that people can change and evolve and grow and learn and be better versions
every day.
Right, of themselves. I just know for myself, like there's certain areas I think, you know, when I was trying to give up sugar, for example, I had some health issues that were going on. And the idea for me to give up sugar, you know, when I grew up eating it, it was part of my daily life. That was like a foreign concept. It took me a good year to sit with that idea before I actually started taking action. And then now have seen the results. Like, I don't want that for our audience. I don't want it to take them a year like it took me. Like, is there any specific, is it a mindset that we should have if we want to move forward in a way in our lives? Do we change the way we think about things?
Well,
first?
One of the things that has to change, you know, if you look at all the research on how goals are accomplished,
yes,
the number one factor, a lot of people think it's motivation. And it's not. There are a lot of people that are extremely motivated. They'd like to lose 100 pounds, or they really want that. But I love the old proverb that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. You can be really motivated, but feel unable. And that's what being stuck is about. So the number one factor is that you've got to believe that it's possible. And sometimes we don't have that in our own heads. So when you come into people's lives and you say, you know what, it really is because I did it. I was here, now I'm here. And one of the first things I think that's so important for people to do is in some way you've got to get out of this closed system of your head, because all you're listening to is all that got you there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have got to open that up to two things. We need energy
Mm-hmm.
from the outside,
Mm-hmm.
and we need new intelligence from the outside. So we get some kind of friend or relationship with a show, support system, but support system that has intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is sort of like downloading you get updates on your computer, right?
Right.
It downloads intelligence from its support system. It gets to the next level. And so this the term self-help
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest oxymoron that was it. There's no such thing as self-help, because if I'm a car and I'm out of gas, what am I going to self-gas?
Right.
But that doesn't mean a car can't get better and move down the road. So the first thing is you've really got to believe that this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, you've got to get a little vulnerable and open yourself up to listening to some intelligence and some voices of people that actually have done this,
Mm-hmm.
and they know how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and it is possible.
I read and I was.
That does change the mindset.
It does change the mindset.
Yeah.
So the mindset, of course, is super important. I was reading this
Well,
morning.
we need a vision.
Yeah.
You know, nothing, and the word gets tossed around a lot, but I like to define a vision as three things. It's a desired future state.
Mm-hmm.
Now think about those three words. Desired means I feel tired all the time. I want next year to not be tired. Okay.
Right.
I really want that. Future means it's got to be something that doesn't exist now.
Mm-hmm.
And state means it's going to actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like for people to really sit down and say, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is it you desire? And we start to get specific into that, and it won't be long before you see the pain, because they'll hit that block inside. I want that butt.
You know, I was reading this morning. It was still dark out. The kids were still sleeping, and I was reading Boundaries, your book that you have right here. Here it is. And you were talking about writing things down, like if you want something or you have a goal, without making the proper changes, what do you actually lose in your life? You know, for me, it was when I get in bed at night, it's like, you know, I'm really paying attention to every aspect of my life, and my evening routine, I definitely wanted to change. I get in bed and I want sweets, I want dessert, and I also want to watch Netflix, like back to back.
Yeah.
And when I do that, what is it doing? It's hurting the intimacy. I started doing the work, right? It's hurting the intimacy with my husband. Sometimes I push my children away and say, "Oh, mommy needs her time,"
Right.
you know.
Right. Which she does sometimes.
But yes, but there's so many other things that that habit is. It's causing other areas of my life to really not be the way I want them to be.
And so, habit is a good word. Technically, what that means, and it's exactly why a lot of people stay stuck. What a habit is it's a pattern that has gotten wired into the circuitry. So when you pull up your computer or your phone
mm-hmm.
and you tap on an icon,
yeah.
there's wiring that takes it to a certain place.
Okay.
It's coded in there. So what happens is people will want to change,
mm-hmm.
but the wiring is going to always keep you in the same habit,
right.
unless you introduce some sort of path that's going to change that. And so a lot of people get, 90-something% of New Year's resolutions, they don't work because the wiring's going to take you there until you begin to do the rewiring. And part of that is small habits, but you've centered in on something very important. I call it play the movie. and I had to do, I've got two girls.
Mm-hmm.
They're 15 and 17 now. But I would come back from a trip when they're, little, and I'm just, I've been on a plane and I've been speaking out at somewhere, and I'm like barely making it to the door.
Right.
And here come these two little girls, Daddy's
so
out, and it's that same feeling. The thing that got me that helped me always do that
mm-hmm.
as good as well as I could, was I'd play the movie. So here's the movie that's a scene of.
Mm-hmm.
If I write that scene into this movie, two little girls come into the man of their life,
mm-hmm.
and the man of their life is unavailable. And I play that scene over and over and over. That turns into a movie where they get wired to desire men that aren't available. And they'll find them as adults like magnets. But those experiences have put those wirings there. So as a parent, like you're saying, at night when you think, okay, if I don't connect with my kids, what's that going to look like a year, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years down
Or
the
with
road?
my husband, right?
Or with your husband. And it is always important. The most successful people, they look at what I'm doing right now. If I continue that
What
pattern,
will it look like?
where will that take me?
Okay.
And that's a big part of the vision.
I think we have to pause because that was like a big aha moment. I want people to sit with that for a second because I just started thinking like I could really apply that to everything, right? Everything. How if I am not really eating healthy like I want to, what happens? It just gains weight and then I feel insecure and then I might not want to go to the, an event or a party. Then I start missing out on life and then, play the movie. Play the movie out.
See, we think we can have a scene.
I love that.
It's like a
a
mini series.
Right.
There aren't any mini series.
It's not a mini series. It's a movie.
You're writing a script, right? And once we start to do something literally more than once, that's at all reinforcing, meaning it feels good, then patterns are getting set that literally becomes wired into the system, and that's why it's so easy to default back. And what we've got to do is those have got to be rewired.
I'm so excited about that right now.
That takes a little work.
I love that. I just think that's why you're so good. You just give such practical advice. And that's just such a simple thing that everyone can remember. Play the movie. Then you get scared and you're like, oh my goodness. Yeah, we got to stop that.
I love a story about
real quick.
This old guy's on a park bench and this young guy comes and sits next to him and he's reading his Wall Street Journal and the young guy says, sir, do you have the time? And he looks at him and he goes, no. And he says, well, you've got to watch. Why won't you tell me? And the old guy goes, well, I'll tell you why. He said, you look like a really sharp guy. And I've got a daughter at home. And you know what? If I talked to you, I'd probably like you. And we become friends. And I'd invite you home and you'd meet my daughter and you probably guys would follow. And my daughter's not married a guy that doesn't own a watch. So he's looking at it. If I connect with this guy, where's that?
He played the movie.
He
was not liking that movie.
No,
he didn't like the end of that movie. That was not his kind of ending. That's so funny. Okay.
But so everything is like that. And what we know about change is you are not going to go from where you are today to there today. And what people do is they'll judge themselves by the goal. Like they'll say they want to lose weight and they get on the scales and it didn't move much and they get depressed. That's not how it works. The way you're going to get there is by your mind will actively resist big changes. The way you do it is you start with tiny changes. And you might say, tonight I'm going to
read Dr. Cloud's book instead of putting it on Netflix.
I'm going to take my iPad or the remote or whatever, and I'm going to put it in the drawer just for this one night, and I'm going to read that book for 5 minutes. And you just start it. Or you go to one Weight Watchers meeting or one whatever it is. And the reason it's baby steps is a thousand
small
reasons.
Victories, right?
Well, it's small victories, but also you are wired. Have you ever been to England and driven a car?
I can't.
You can't, right?
Because
you're wired to go to the right side of the road.
Right.
And everything in you is going to resist. And the worst thing is trying to make changes where our minds are actually fighting us to change. And we've got to jiu-jitsu that resistance through a lot of factors, and then we can.
Yeah. So do you think a lot of times what causes us to not move forward, would you call it like we're sabotaging ourselves, or do you think it's like more fear based from what you've seen
Well,
in your practice?
it's certainly fear based in that whenever we make any kind of change,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that activates the system, and it's saying you're you're in danger. Now, it might be a little danger, might be a big danger, but once we are familiar with something, any kind of change, your mind goes, what? And so you're going to get a little bit of a rush there
Mm-hmm.
biochemically. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to get a little bit of a rush. Now, what great performers, you've performed at high levels.
Mm-hmm.
When you would start to do that, you knew your best performances were when you cared enough to be a little amped,
Right.
right? But you had learned enough at that point to where you didn't interpret that feeling a little fear as something bad. You interpret it as an invitation to jump into it. Well, in the beginning stages, when we feel that fear, oh, I might lose, I might get
Mm-hmm.
rejected. Oh, what if it doesn't work? I might start this business. What if nobody comes? I
Yeah.
might make the sale. Oh, what if they don't buy it? I want to go on a date. What if I get, turned down?
Rejected. Mm-hmm.
So that initial like amping,
Right.
okay, that's your best friend and it's your worst enemy.
Oh.
It's energy that'll propel you forward, but your mind will automatically interpret it as don't go there because that means something's bad is going to happen. So part of what you've got to do
Mm-hmm.
in this change process is you've got to learn to normalize fear. It's part of the change process. If you're going to take that step forward to sign up for that class or to do whatever it is to reshape, you're going to move into this and you're going to feel a little something. You're going to feel in your body, you're going to feel in your chest, you might feel in your pulse, whatever it is. And you've got to begin to say, oh, there's that feeling of change.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And then you just ignore it and you keep going. But you can't, the worst thing you do is say to somebody, well, don't be afraid because you have no conscious control of that. What you've got to do is make it your partner in the journey, and then as you start to move, it's going to diminish.
Right. And step into it, I feel.
You have to get moving.
I feel like I've been in so many situations over the years, a lot of times with my career, where I am so fearful of performing or different wherever I
hope
am.
so because you're not doing the next level if you're
No.
not afraid.
And then there's sometimes it's like it's like a free fall. You just literally are taking that step and you're just like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And a
Yes.
lot of times, really great things happen. But
Absolutely.
still to this day, I still, I still experience it. It doesn't ever go away.
I hope not because that's called being alive.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way. If you look at your life and what you're trying to pull off right now, and a goal or whatever a dream is, and at some point you're not feeling like, where
Mm-hmm.
if it's not freaking you out a little bit, you need a bigger goal.
Mm.
Because what you're saying is
I like
tomorrow's
that.
just going to be like it is today.
Yeah.
We need to get scared.
Yeah. A lot of
We
people
get
don't talk
scared.
about fear a lot. I feel like you hear it, but you don't really have a deep conversation with it. So when it shows up, you're not quite sure. It's not like you can pull from your bag of, tools and okay, that's fear. This is what I do in this situation. I just feel like that conversation is not really, I don't hear it very often.
You have to normalize it and keep going and take the little steps and not catastrophize the result.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the big things, I love the quote by Churchill, who said, success is a stream of failures without losing enthusiasm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
whoever stepped on the stage to do what you did the first time and had it go well, where you win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody ever won the whole thing without the steps of being really, really scared and continuing to go. And when they fell down, normalize that. Yeah, that's how this works.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way you learn to walk.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for giving us this little bitty nugget of insight and how to start this process of, reshaping our lives. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, if I could say anything to your viewers, I mean,
Yeah.
why they're here and why you're here, is that reshaping is 100% possible. It's only the voices in your head and the idiots around you that you're listening to that tell you that it's not. And there are proven ways to do this. But it's not going to happen without taking that first step and making yourself vulnerable enough to get a little embarrassed, maybe you skin knees a little bit, whatever it is. But it's key to the whole thing is have somebody in that path with you that can hold your hand and can show you the next step. If you do that, you can get there.
Well, we'll have you in our corner, right?
We'll be here.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Todd. Really appreciate it.
Great to be with you. It's good
Thank
to be
you.
with you guys.